How does our consciousness work? Suppose when we hear the black square table, our consciousness starts to analyze this information that has been offered to it. It asks us, is the table always a square, or can it be round? We answer the table also can be round. Consciousness asks, and the white table is also a table, or are tables only black? We know that tables can be any color, and our consciousness asks, why do we need these two signs, square and black? Well, the shape of the surface can be any, and the color can be anything. Because the consciousness, the table, is just some sort of surface of natural materials on which you can eat or work. That's all. It's not interesting in any other form or fashion. Human consciousness will always identify the table not by a mere surface or by graceful legs. For it, it's all nonsense and not essential information. For it, only one thing is important. Can I eat or work on this surface? You can, so this is a table. That's how the human consciousness works. Or let's say, if our consciousness hears, the author of the novel Crime and Punishment. The great Russian writer of the 19th century, of course, it's about Dostoevsky. Consciousness begins to work. Is important for what century he was? Important or not? No, it does not matter, because the century has nothing to do with what he did. Okay, so great Russian writer. Is it important that he was Russian? Are the great writers only Russians? No, it's not necessary, hence this information is also thrown back. Recline and subjective, the great, there is simply a Russian writer. So are Russians only writers? No, in the end, there remains the writer. For the initial information, the consciousness thus processed everything. It always cuts off all the unnecessary. As a result, he has the word writer for analysis. The analysis continues. Who is a writer? This person who can write. At the base of that is just a person. Person, and what is this? There's a psychotype. Writer Dostoevsky is a psychotype called a subject. So in this way, the information initially submitted for our analysis of any person will still be analyzed from the point of view of his psychotype. Analyzing information that comes from the surrounding world, consciousness always simplifies everything. Simplifies to the basics. Why is this like that? Because for millions of years of evolution, the consciousness has eliminated all unnecessary, leaving for the user, only the most valuable of information. It exists in our consciousness in the form of notions, which we get at the genetic level. What does this mean for us in relation to cinema? If we have the image of the protagonist, then respectively, the consciousness is not very important. A man or a woman, it does not matter how old he is, because does age mean he can be a different psychotype? No, it does not. Therefore, external data is not important. It does not matter. Does he smoke, what clothes he wears, what car he drives, how he speaks, or with whom he lives? It's not really important at all. Consciousness will always analyze his pure psychotype. That's why when we write a script based on the information model of the protagonist, we will never make a mistake, because that's how the viewer's consciousness will also analyze the image of the screen. It will not matter at all how decorated your heroes are or how unusual they are. What matters is the characteristics that distinguish them from the crowd. Yes, that's right, it's all good. But the viewer's consciousness will still disassemble the image from your hero from the point of view of his basic psychotype. In relation to a person or the protagonist, consciousness always distinguishes four basic psychotypes. That is individual, individuality, subject, and personality. Each of us lives within his own psychotype. I am, for example, the psychotype subject. I'll tell you what that means in a separate video about each psychotype with examples from films. This means that a person lives inside his own model in one of four. We are all born as individuals then. Some of us grow further, improve intellectually, physically, and become individuals. Therefore, the subject goes further, and the top of all psychotypes is the personality. Now we'll look at how it looks chronologically. According to my observations, as a rule, a person lives inside this information model, he spends all his time in it, and he dies in it. A person has the opportunity to move from one model to another, higher using his will, using his aspirations, his wishes. But as a rule, people are quite inert. They do not want to make effort. If the person is an individual, he was born in a village, in the family of a farmer, he lived all his life in this village. He took over his father's business, but he remained a peasant or a farmer. He did not develop any of his talents, as individuals often do. He lives, worked, had fun, he had friends, but he did not go beyond the model of the individual. He did not go to the level of notions, technologies. He did not become like a personality to collect squares and stadiums, to write some books. He lived inside this model of the individual, inside his 48 notions, and at the end, he died there. Ordinarily, a not especially remarkable person. Individuality can also be stuck in his model, but if he or she continues to learn, and they become a subject. This is how the person into psychosis, psychotypes looks in terms of time chronology. Here we do not take into account cycles or phases, just years of life. Let us consider a simplified time for such an analysis. Here we are all born at the point of 0. A person appears all, and we are all born individuals. This is a basic person, a human organism. The task is absorption, food, visual images, the formation of basic information about the world around us. This formation ends at the age of about 14 to 16 years. Here we go to a college, master the specialty, and remain within the framework of this model. Individuality will go further. It also includes the basic psychotype of the individual, but it will develop further until the age of about 24 to 26. Who are these people? All singers, athletes, actors, actresses, artists, people who already develop their skills and abilities, individuals who do not develop anything. They are just good mechanical performers, drivers, peasants, locksmiths, employees, soldiers. They do repetitive actions. They develop their abilities, but not talents. The individuality is what we do not want to be an individual anymore. These are rebels who broke out of the gray mass, and which, for example, their parents may remain. Here at the age of 24 to 25, people come to universities and then they have the opportunity to become a subject. The subject also fundamentally includes the level of the individual in some part of himself. And individuality too. By this, they are all alike, and here they already differ from the individual. Subjects are people who are already moving to the conceptual level of communication. They start to earn money with their mind, do business, organizing enterprises. They are engineers, they are clever people who create processes and technologies. This man and this are already speaking at different languages. A subject can understand the individual and he will have to descend to his level. And the individual can never rise to the level of the subject. And at 33 or 34 years, there is the next turning point, when a human can become a personality. When he already has some mass for people. For him, he is an idol. He brings to them some important knowledge or revelations. The personality does not belong to himself anymore. The individual is worried about his tribe, his family, his group. These are, for example, heroes of action movies, where the family, the clan, the tribe, they're the decisive factors. Individual worries about their fans and customers, because this level also includes professionals, doctors, teachers, and so on. Here are the people who are responsible for themselves. They're responsible for the family, they are for the fans. These are for themselves. And the personality is already responsible for people in general. A personality can be even at the age of 80 years. If we consider that these people are in the form of a pyramid called the world's population, or any country, the proportions will be the same. Individuals are approximately 70% of the population. Individualities, about 15%. Subjects, too, about 15%. And only 1 or 2% remain at the top of the pyramids for personalities. This is the level of Steve Jobs, for example, spiritual leaders, kings, presidents, gurus, and each of them with examples from the films we will describe in more detail in our next videos.